No, I'm so grateful for that because my daughter always come to me and want to talk. But the word that comes from my mouth, it's amazing. I mean, she got a lot of courage on me. And she's telling me, oh,
that's great. Hashem.
This was my dream, so the kids grow up.
So this week we're going to learn about the signs of a kosher animal. There are different kinds of signs in general in Torah. There are signs that make something happen, and there are signs that indicate that something has happened. In other words, when the Torah says that certain signs make an animal kosher, is the animal kosher because it has these signs? Or is the animal kosher anyways? And the signs are just for us to know that this animal is kosher. Sounds better, right? Like the OU on a product, or OK. Right. Is it kosher because it has an OU? Or is the OU just a sign that you know it's kosher?
Make the guy rich.
So for sure, by the OU and the OK, just because a rabbi says something is kosher, doesn't mean that it's kosher. Wow. It's kosher because it's kosher. It has to actually have kosher ingredients for it to be kosher. Just because the OU says it's kosher doesn't make it kosher. So the question is regarding the Torah signs. There are different opinions about this, but it doesn't really matter for our discussion. Because what matters regarding our discussion is the implications for us from the Torah's kosher signs. The Torah giving us these kosher signs, everything in Torah is a message for us. The word Torah means instruction. It's a message for us. So the Torah's signs of kosher animal have a message for us in our lives. What's the message? So the Torah says that in order for an animal to be kosher, it has to have two signs. It has to chew its cud, and it has to have split hooves. The Torah says if an animal just has one sign, if it just has split hooves, doesn't chew its cud. So what the Torah says if there are three animals that don't have those, that don't have both, that only have split hooves, they're not kosher. Then the Torah says there's an animal which chews its cud, the chazer, chuk, and doesn't chew its cud. Split hooves doesn't chew its cud. So that's also not kosher. It has to have both signs. So the Torah says that you are connected to what you eat. Let's put Dr. Ressman on mute. Let's do me a favor.
Actually have
a different sound. Okay. Chaim. A person, the Gemara says, is compared to an animal. 3 ways a person is like an animal. So there is the animal in the person, and there is the person in the person. The animal in the person is the part of the person which is interested and connected to the physical. And the person in the person is what's interested and attracted into the spiritual. So, like the Parshas says, Ruach HaBehema rez lamata, Ruach HaAdam elamayla. The spirit of an animal goes down after the lowly things, after physical things. The spirit of a person, the spirit of the person in the person, meaning the neshama, is to go lamayla, to go after holier and spiritual things. So a person needs to eat. Hashem made the world in a way that we need to eat. Not just we need to eat, to live. We also need to eat in order to understand things. The Gemara says a story about a tzaddik who couldn't understand something, and the next day he has a new beautiful explanation for a thing that he couldn't understand the day before. And he explained, you know why I didn't understand this yesterday? Because yesterday I didn't eat meat. Today I eat meat. That's why I understand the Torah better. So the food that we eat is not only about keeping us alive, but also it strengthens our spiritual capabilities. It also helps us understand things. So the Torah describes kosher eating, the way that a man should eat an animal. How do you know if your eating is kosher? What does your eating mean? How do you know that when what's eating mean? A man is eating an animal. What's kosher eating mean inside of us? That the man inside of us, the spirituality inside of us, the neshama inside of us, that is what's using the physical things in our life. It's not word. A man eating an animal means that a man eating the food means means that the spirituality in you is taking the physical things in your life and using it for human things, using it for spiritual things. That's the real meaning of eating. But how do you know you're doing that in a kosher way? How do you know that you're really doing things for the sake of Hashem, and that you're taking the physical food and you're using it for the man in you, and you're not just using physical things because of your own selfish reasons? A person could think he's doing things for the sake of Hashem. He's not really doing things for the sake of Hashem. It's possible to think, oh yeah, it's for the sake of Hashem. But it's not really for the sake of Hashem. He has some ulterior motive. So how do you know if it's really for the sake of Hashem or not? How do you know if your eating is really kosher? How do you know if you're really elevating the physical and making it spiritual, and you're not just bringing yourself down? You're not just going after. How do you know that you're the man, you're the spirituality, you're the neshama, and you're consuming, you're elevating the physical? How did that really happen? So the Torah says, in order to know that this is really happening, there are two signs. The first sign is split hooves. What split hooves mean? Gemara says a story about Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma and Rabbi Chanim ben Tradian. When Yossi ben Kisma was ill, he was visited by Rabbi Chanim ben Tradian. Rabbi Chanim ben Tradian, at that time, the Romans forbade the study of Torah. And Rabbi Chanim ben Tradian was still teaching Torah in public. So Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma asked Rabbi Chanim ben Tradian, are you teaching Torah in public? How are you doing this? If the Romans made this decree, and how are you defying their decree? So he said, Min Hashemayim Yerachim. He said, Hashem, the Gemara says in Avodah Zarah, Daf Yud Ches, that the story in where it says that he told Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma, Hashem will have mercy on me. Hashem will have mercy on me. So Yossi ben Kisma didn't accept this. He says, I will be surprised if they don't burn you together with your Sefer Torah, which is Rahman al-San. He was one of the 10 people killed by the Romans. That's what happened to him. So then after this back and forth discussion, Chaim Tradian asks Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma another question. He says to him, will I merit to go to the world to come? So Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma says, did you ever do anything special? So he says, yeah. One time, my money was mixed in with money that I collected for the poor, for Purim, and it got mixed together, and I gave away my own money for the poor as well. So Rabbi Yossi ben Kisma was very excited, and he says, if that's what you did, then may your portion be my portion, may your lot be my lot. That's the Gemara's story, and then that's indeed what happened to Rabbi Chanim ben Tradian. He passed away through the Romans killing. Obvious question is, number one, we're talking about someone who's giving his life to teach Torah. So what's a question if he's going to go to the world to come? And what's the answer? What does he say? Oh, you once had Purim money mixed in with other money and you gave it away. Oh, if that's what you did, then for sure you're going to the world to come. What was his question if he's going to go to the world to come? Eibishter rewards a person for Torah mitzvahs. This person has Mesiras Nefesh for Torah mitzvahs. For sure, Hashem rewards him. So what was his question if he's going to go to the world to come? And was he telling him, if you did something special, why is that more special than what he was doing? He was having sacrifice to teach Torah. And only because he gave away the money of Purim, because it got mixed with his money, only then does he say, okay, that will make you have the world to come. So the answer is like this. There are two kinds of life. There is a life of Elam Haza and life of Elam Haba. There's life of living in this world and life of the world to come. The life of this world is a physical life. Life of the world to come is a spiritual life. So he wasn't asking him only, will he merit to go to the world to come? He's asking him, what kind of life am I living? Am I living a life which is spiritual, which is really connected, which is really for the sake of Hashem? Or am I living a life just which has from my own, because of my own desires? It's possible there are many philosophers, earlier philosophers in Athens who they didn't care about physical things. They cared only about philosophy, and intellectual concepts were very important to them. They would discuss intellectual concepts. They were into intellectual concepts, and they would argue about them. And they don't care about eating and drinking. Just into the intellect. So there are people that are so into the intellect that they give away various pleasures for the sake of learning because they love to learn. So Rabbi Yisrael ben Kisma, the question that the Chimot Hadim was asking him was, am I doing this for the sake of Hashem for real? Am I living a life of Elam Haba? Is this a spiritual life or is this a physical life? I'm doing a lot of holy things, that's for sure. These are mitzvahs. And Hashem will reward me. But what kind of life am I living right now? What kind of life is this? Is this an Elam Haba life or is this an Elam Haza life? Am I living a life about the animal? Am I living a life about the neshama? Is it neshama or is it body? So there are two kinds of nature. There's pizur and there's kibbutz. There are people which are very model avena, which they love to enjoy life and to move around and to eat and drink and the people which are more reserved, kibbutz. They're more in Yiddish, more verkvetcht, more subdued. They're not so into what they enjoy, what they like. They're just more. So who is better at studying things? Who has a nature of diligence in studying? Is able to continue studying and concentrating. Somebody who has that nature of being more subdued and being more farkvetch, more kibbutz, they're more easier for them to study. Someone who's more of doesn't have that zisfleish, doesn't have that ability to just sit down and plug himself into a chair and to focus. So it's much harder for him to study. So the Rabbi Yosef ben Kisma's question to Minchon ben Tradian was, when you asked, did he do anything? He said to him, you want to know why you're studying Torah. You want to know if it's your nature or if it's because of Hashem. So the way to tell is if you're serving Hashem in one arena, in the arena of those who are farkvetch, those who are subdued, or you serve Hashem in the other arena as well. If you only serve Hashem in one arena, then you're right. It could be it's your nature. It could be it's not because of Hashem. It could be just because it's your nature. If you serve Hashem in the two opposite arenas, then I can know that what you're doing is not because of your own nature, rather it's because of Hashem. So he asked him, did he do anything? Did he do anything in the arena of the pizur kind of people, those who are pazur? Did you do anything in the arena of the model of Eina? Or did you only serve Hashem in the subdued way of diligence and Torah stuff? So he said the story of how his money got mixed in with other money, and he gave all the money away. The nature of someone who is more kibbutz is not to be so generous. They're into themselves. They're into their studies. They don't have the nature of being generous. So if his service of Hashem was only based on his nature of being Mara Shcheira, then he would have a hard time with giving away money. So the fact that he did that anyways, that indicates that his service of Hashem is a olam haba life. He's serving Hashem not because of his animal soul, not because of his nature, not because of what he likes, but he's serving Hashem. It's for the sake of Hashem. So that's a story in the Gemara, which tells us that his life now is the life of the world to come. And that's where he's going to world to come. Even now, his life is about the world to come. But then the question is about the eating food. Rabbi Yosef ben Kisma was asking him about how to classify his life. But certainly, even if there's some Yidden that learn Torah and they do mitzvahs, lots of great ththings, but their whole life is about the world. Their life is about gashmis. Their life is about enjoying the world. They do lots of great things, but it's all about what they're going to get at. It's not about, give an example. It says before you daven, you're supposed to eat. Why are you supposed to eat? So the reason we're supposed to eat, the source of this is from a story of Rabbi Tzimifka. Rabbi Tzimifka, she had a discussion. Her doctor told her that she needs to eat, before she davens because for the sake of her health. So she didn't want to eat before she davens. She felt like, she should daven before she eats. So the doctor told her, so yes, the Torah says, listen to your doctor. So what she do? She davened really early. And that way she was able to eat. But the Chassidic said that it was incorrect. He said the Jew has to have life in the mitzvahs. And it's better, you said, you should eat before you daven than daven before you eat. So the Rebbe said those words have also a spiritual meaning, have also a very philosophical meaning, a very, very fundamental. These are two fundamentally different ways of looking at life. There are some people, they daven, they do mitzvahs, they get stuck, they learn Torah. But all the things they're doing are for the sake of eating. Just like when a person doesn't eat breakfast before he davens, it could be he's davening, but he wants to daven so I can get it over with, so I can enjoy my breakfast. A similar way in life, it's possible that a person is doing lots and lots of great, wonderful things, but it's all because of eating. It's all because of what can I get out of it? What will this give me? Hashem will give me all these brachas. I want to do all these things, get all these brachas. So it's all about the eating. Eating before davening means that a person wants all the brachas. Yes, but what's the purpose of these brachas? Because he wants for the Eibishter. He wants to give something to Hashem. He wants to serve Hashem. He wants to use the brachas Hashem gave him to create something spiritual. He's interested in Hashem being happy. He's interested in fulfilling Hashem's intent and the world being a home for Hashem. So it's not about what he's gaining out of it. It's about the Eibush, about the spirituality he's creating. That's a life of Elam Haba. That's a life of the world to come. He's alive. He's eating. They're all doing the same things. Both people may be doing the same things, but the question is, what's their intent? The Rebbe Rashab was once speaking to the previous Rebbe, and he told the previous Rebbe that two people visited him that day. From one of them, he had nachas. The other, he didn't have so much nachas. What was the story? He said one guy comes in, and he tells the Rebbe Rashab how busy he is in teaching Torah. He has one class at 4 o'clock, one class at 5 o'clock, at 6 o'clock. He's all day teaching Torah. And he says he's so busy teaching Torah that he has no time to really eat. He says at the end of the day, he sits down with a cup of tea, and he finally, in a few minutes, he has his cup of tea, and then he goes to sleep. That's like he can only have his tea at the end of the day. Then there's another guy. Other guy works really hard. His job is to work really hard. He's worked so hard. And he works and works and works. He says, only at the end of the day, I have a few minutes to learn a few lines of Tanya and until I fall asleep. So Rebbe Rashab said that he had nachas in the second guy, not so much from the first guy. Because the first guy is doing all these spiritual things, but it's all like, can I get done with all this? I can't wait till I get done so I can sit down and relax. So it's all doing a lot of spiritual things, but it's all about his relaxing. So Torah says that in order to know whether you're serving Hashem for the sake of Hashem, if your life is spiritual or not, it depends on how you're serving Hashem. Are you serving Hashem in one arena or both arenas? That's the first sign the Torah gives. If you're not just serving Hashem in the area of Torah study, you're not serving Hashem in the area of tzedakah, but you're serving Hashem in both, then that shows that you're in this for the sake of Hashem. I have a friend. His name is Rabbi Levi Stolik. I always think of the story. It just really exemplifies what a chassid is, what someone who's really a servant of Hashem is. I was with him we went together didn't go together, but we ended up, people go on every yontif to all different shuls. As Rebbe said, to bring joy to different shuls, everyone should go and share words of Torah and dance and sing and bring happiness to all different shuls and every yontif. So it was Shavuos. And my task was, I was assigned to the Young Israel of Sheepside Bay on Avenue Z in the 7th, quite a long walk. I know where Rabbi Stolik was assigned to, but we meet on the way back, and he's carrying these bags. And he asked me if I can carry a bag. I'm like, what's in the bag? It's not like, carry a bag for a block. It's carry a bag for an hour and a half or more. And this is the way back, not the way there. Your feet are ready. So I'm like, what's in the bags? Just please, can you carry a bag? And then so I carried the bag, and he finally explained to me what the bag was. There was a gentleman that had accompanied us who was very he was a Republican, whoever was running for president at the time, I remember. And he really wanted this guy to win. And he's thinking he has to get the Jewish vote. So he has these newspapers which are going to show that everyone should vote for his candidate. He wanted to distribute them in all the shuls and Kronites. So he's going to go on the bus to take those newspapers, for the holy mission of this Yantiv. It's a holiday, but there's a holy mission. So they said, no, don't worry. I'll take it for you. I'll take it for you. So he tried to take it, but then he had a stomach ache. He couldn't carry it anymore. So we carried it back, and this guy was he didn't at the time. I don't think he really appreciated what Rabbi Stalk was doing for him, but it made an impression on him, and he eventually became a full Baal Teshuvah. He eventually started keeping Shabbos and Yantiv and kosher, becoming fully observant. But think about this guy. He doesn't care about this candidate. He probably doesn't think that newspapers and Kanites will change the vote, because it wouldn't. And everyone's going to vote who they're going to vote for, whatever. But he's doing something. He's into. We have to share the message of the Rebbe and these shuls, and that's one way of serving Hashem. But then this guy needs something else. And so for him to jump away from what he's used to serving Hashem, a whole different way, that shows the guy is kosher. That shows that he's serving Hashem on a high level. Now, that's just the service of Hashem. But also in regards to the physical food that we eat, how do we know that we do it's for the sake of Hashem? It depends how we serve Hashem. If we're serving Hashem in both arenas. But that's only one sign. The Torah says you can't be satisfied with one sign. Why can't you be satisfied with one sign? Because since our nature is to be drawn after the physical, that's our nature. So then no matter how many times you say, for the sake of Hashem, you don't really know. That's why Chassidim, whenever it came to a mitzvah, where the body has physical pleasure from, Chassidim would always question that mitzvah, if it's really, do you really have to do this mitzvah or not? If there was a Chassid who was a mashpia in yeshiva of Lubavitch, I think for his enjoyment on Shabbos, he would have challah and oil. That was his delicacy he would have on Shabbos. Chassidim wouldn't be especially scrupulous on mitzvahs where the body has enjoyment. The mitzvahs the body has enjoyment, they were like, not so much. It's okay. That's how Chassidim were. They were scrupulous in every mitzvah. Mitzvahs the body has enjoyment, they weren't so careful because they would think that's not really real. It's not really sincere. I'm not saying that we're on that level, but the idea is you have to ask yourself the question. You have to chew your cud. What's chewing your cud mean? The animal eats, goes in the animal's stomach. The animal has 5 stomachs, the cow has 5 stomachs, and it goes from the stomach back to the mouth, chewing it over again. So before you decide this is for the sake of Hashem, chew it over again. Ask yourself, is this really for the sake of Hashem? Ask yourself again, is it really for the sake of Hashem? If you don't ask yourself that question again and again, you're not going to get the right answer. Because although you may be serving Hashem in both arenas and you might be doing the right, but still you're prone to go after physical enjoyment because that's the way you're programmed. And therefore, in order to know that something is really for the sake of Hashem, it has to have both sides. Both you have to have split hooves and chew your cud. You have to also ask yourself the question, is this really, do I really need this or not? Only when you have both, then you can know that your life, that your physical life, the food that you're eating, that your man inside of you, your neshama, is eating the animal. It's taking the animal and elevating for the sake of the man, for the sake of spiritual things, and not the opposite, that the man is being eaten by the animal. If you want to know if the man is eating the animal, then your neshama is taking the physical things in your life and bringing up the holiness, you have to have these two signs. Otherwise, out these two signs, it may be the opposite. It may be the animal in you is taking you away from your neshama and drawing it the other direction. Make sense?
Like, all roads go back to the top. At the end of the day. So that's always
Bittul. You're hearing the bittul.
it's either you're eating the animal or the animal's eating you.
So why is that bittul? The question is, what are you interested in? Why are you interested in? You're doing lots of things. What's your goal? Where are you heading? What do you want?
Either you're some way there, and if you're not, then at least you have to be conscious that you're not there, so that you can think in a way that. I mean, I don't know, it's like because the story is with Rabbi Padre.
It's
it's an extreme story. It's like, you know, Rabbi Yochanan and Zakkai, he swears, you know, did I
Superman.
like, and all the students then those are like, they're like, whoa, you know, freaking out. How do you say this? Or Rava, like, Beinani, it's what hope do we have? But then I guess the Rebbe sort of like helps us filter down into our reality a little bit. It just seems like.
I'll tell you one thing before I forget. The Alter Rebbe, before he passed away, he's not so famous. The Alter Rebbe said that I know Gan Eden. I know the world to come. I know in the merit of my sacrifice for Chassidus, what's in store for me. I'm not going to the exact quote, this is what I remember. And I give it away in order that you should answer a wicked person, a perfectly wicked person, an absolutely wicked person, on a regular Wednesday, like you answer at Tzaddik on Yom Kippur. And so that when a person says they're doing something for the sake of Hashem, they should be successful. They should actually be for the sake of Hashem. When a Jew wants them to be for the sake of Hashem, should actually be for the sake of Hashem. So there is. The Rebbe Rashab said that tomatoes aren't megashim. I don't know why. Tomatoes don't. Usually, physical food makes you more coarse. The tomatoes are an exception. Tomatoes don't make you more coarse. I don't know why. I don't know how that works. But it says tomatoes aren't megashim. So let's take the tomato analogy out for a second, but let's say this: there are things that we do that are megashim, that do bring us them. We eat them, we enjoy them, and we like them, and we're interested in them, and we're not interested for the sake of Hashem. So first of all, we have to ask ourselves a question: is that what my life is about? Is that who I am? And number two, because you know that about yourself, then you at least acknowledge when it comes to something that you ask yourself, do I need this? I don't need this. You know to lean on the side of I don't need this, because you know that's where you're up to. And even though there's a part of you that wants something for your own benefit, your own enjoyment, but there's also a part of you that wants for the sake of Hashem. You're allowed to think about that too. I'll say that. You're allowed to think of the Eibusher also. When you eat something, you like eating, and you eat what you like to eat. You're also allowed to think about the Eibusher too. You're allowed to do that too. It doesn't have to only be about the physical. You're allowed to say to yourself, "Who am I? What am I for? Just for the Gashmis? It doesn't have a purpose." And so these two arenas are what makes our food kosher. First of all, we're not just limited serving Hashem in one way, and second of all, by asking ourselves, "What are we doing things for?" You have to push a think. What are we doing this for? Ask yourself, what are you doing something for? Well, ask yourself again and analyzing yourself. That's the key to get things in check. Any other questions?
That's why it comes Baruch Hashem. So we realize
Hashem gives it to us. Yeah. Zakah